Yeah. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. That's him. That's him, man. He sent that riff in, boy. It is Monday, December 18th, in the year 2017. Lot going on. And that's Tiny Sandhu showing up for you. Showing up for you. You know, there was the email came in a while back. I said, Tiny, this is the exact email I sent to Tiny. I said, Tiny, people want to hear a Christmas ballad with some vocals of your own. What about either Rocking Around the Christmas Tree or any good Christmas song you like? Can you get us one? Thanks. The fans love Tiny. And then I get this from Tiny. Yo, yo, how about this Jingle Bell? Dig, ... Tiny. And he played this riff, this homemade Tiny Sandhu from the depths of the earth, from the inner canals of Mother Earth. You know, coming straight out that frickin' warm ovary in the center of this fine planet we live on. Take one more hit off of that Jingle Bells, made specially for you by Tiny Sandhu. I was just checking down the line there to see if he gives us any vocals there, and we don't get any vocals. We don't get to hear the Tiny. And people, you know, sending in beautiful pictures and ideas of what Tiny is. You know, somebody sent in like a groundhog type of character. You know, people have, you know, sent in pictures. Somebody sent in a picture of an Indian man in a baby carriage. You know, people have sent in different ideas. You know, somebody sent in a picture of like a little bit of like a mollusk with glasses on, like a smart mollusk, and a harp. If you can picture a mollusk playing a harp. And so people are sending all types of ideas of what Tiny is. And I guess to me what Tiny kind of has become, you know, he's just become a joy provider. I mean, he's that Verizon of joy. Because we reach out to Tiny, we ask him for joy, and he sends it. And that's it. That's all he does. That's all he does. And that's, I mean, you know, with the year coming in, closing in, and I'm starting to think about next year, man, that's something that I want to do a little bit more of, to be honest, dude. I don't want to be out here just beating other people with my nuts, you know, and just, you know, bringing sharp confetti to every party I go to. And, you know, I just don't want to be caught up in the circle of whatever the problem is anymore. You know, whatever's going on out there, I don't want to be more of the bullshit. You know? I don't want to be, I just don't want to be that. I want to be that Tiny Sandhu that just shows up with the riffs and drops that sweet cabbage into your ears. You know, that just fills up your fucking ear bowls with that sexy, sultry sound soup. That Sandhu. Man, he's a dirty little grifter, isn't he? He's a dirty little grifter, and I'll let the whole song play out at the end of the episode today. Welcome to this past weekend. It is December 18th, 2017, and we're closing in on the end of the year, man. It's wintertime. The power out at the Atlanta airport. If you heard about that, they shut it down. That tricity. They shut down that tricity. And shout out to my girl Tricity Walters, actually. They had an urban girl when I was growing up in middle school named Tricity from my hometown, Tricity Walters. And she could jump, man. This girl could jump. She'd jump over you. She would jump over you, dude, if she didn't like you. She just had springs just in her legs. She was probably damn 60%, you know, dove or fawn. And she would jump right over you. Speaking of doves or fawn, dude, my cousin got bit by a gay guy out here in Los Angeles, you know. So, been keeping tabs on him. Some fever here and there, but everything, I think he's going to be fine. Man, that was during Halloween, and he hadn't fully recovered, but he got bit by a man on Halloween dressed up like a baby deer, like a fawn. And it was a gay gentleman, and I'm not sure if the fella, had misplaced my cousin for someone else or what had happened. My cousin was walking out here on Highland Boulevard, and a gay gentleman dressed up like a baby deer came out of the hedges and bit him. And the man was, bit him on the back and left some, a little bit of teeth marks and some cinnamon lip gloss on his back where my cousin got snacked on. Basically, they're snacking on these straight boys off of Highland Boulevard. So if you have a friend out here in Los Angeles who's walking on Highland who's straight, have them take an Uber, because they got these gay gentlemen dressed up out there like deers that are snacking on these straight boys. But yeah, here we are, and welcome to this past weekend. Thank you guys for being here with me. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you guys. People are gearing up. I remember this time of year when I was a kid at school, it was always like you were going into the biggest break. The biggest break you had as a child was that Christmas break, when you were gearing up and you were going to be off for Christmas. And that was such a big time, and, seeing your friends and, talking about all the things you were going to get. Like, I even remember in kindergarten, we would go and sit, we had to get, at the beginning of kindergarten, our parents would drop us off, and we'd go sit on this big rug, and, we watching morning cartoons or whatever. And the morning cartoons would be coming on, but the commercial breaks, all the toys would show. And all the kids would be like, I got that, I'm getting that, I got that, I'm getting that. I remember that being like the big thing was during that, that break, to just tell everybody you were getting everything. And sometimes some of the boys would even, say, I'm getting that. And it would be like a girl's, tea set or something. And you'd be like, okay, that boy wants some different stuff. He don't want the He-Mans, He wants other things. He wants the sparkly ponies and that. And so that was always kind of a unique experience when you, when one boy would just accidentally Freudianly slip like, I want that, I got that. And it would be, it would be like a She-Ra or a Care Bear, a Care Bear, neck brace and hospital kind of setup for children that wanted to play hospital. Those were just different gifts they had. Tiny micro machines. That was the big gift. I remember when I was young, people wanted these micro machines, little bitty cars. And that was the gift, to get micro machines. And the guy would be on the commercial like, he would talk so fast. He'd be like, do you want the micro machines? I'm from New York, And then he would talk about the micro machines. But yeah, that was fun when you were a kid, man, getting ready to be out of school. It was just that crazy time, and Santa was coming and anything could happen. And then as you get older, it kind of, the Christmas break, I remember like in junior high, somebody would have like a nice party. It'd be a good time when you first usually got drunk, I feel like. It was during the holidays because there was extra liquor around. There's always extra liquor around during the holidays. If you notice that, there's always a little bit extra wine. More people are stopping by. The little bottle of brandy left out. And you can easily cop a little bit of sipper here or there. You can get that hitter, And I remember we got drunk one time over there in Atlanta and filled some wine bottles with water and went out there and threw them off the overpass at cars going by. And I really regret some of that behavior, And I think in this time of year, I start thinking about just things I regret a little bit from the year, because this is kind of like a time where this time of year for me, things slow down. Things out here in Los Angeles kind of slow down, like people are on fire and shit like that. So everybody's, people aren't bitching and complaining as much about everything. People are, trying to save their homes and stuff because they're dealing with real shit. And in my life, things just slow down. I'm going to go home for the holidays. I'm leaving on Thursday. I'm pretty excited. And I get that, I just get that, I get that slow down feeling. And I start thinking about people that I've ran into over the year. I start thinking if there's people that I need to talk to or apologize to. just things I need to purge, because things I don't want to take into next year. And I don't want to. I just want to be that sweet riffer that shows up. I want to be that first place canary. I don't want to. Sometimes I find myself just being this dodo bird. I just keep carrying around the same bullshit with me, the same lies, the same ridiculousness, and it just doesn't help me. I wonder why my life doesn't evolve sometimes, and it's because it's hard for it to evolve when I got these thick brake pads made out of my own bullshit that are stopping the rotors all the time. And I find that sometimes. Sometimes I just, I know maybe I'm being vague, but it's like, I'm just staying in a relationship that I shouldn't be in, or I'm, it could be a friend, even like a friendship, or just I'm staying in a job where I know I'm not happy. I'm keeping text chains going with that. I know I don't even really have any interest in somebody. I'm just, I'm just keeping bullshit alive. It's like I'm a juggler, but all my balls in the air are bullshit. And maybe 2 or 3 real balls. And that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to drop those bullshit balls and get into something real coming up. Just so I can open up more possibility for some legit shit in my life. And I know I say all the time. People comment about that. So I'm going to try to keep tabs on it. This episode, I'll see how I do. But it's, I want to be juggling real shit. So when people come up and they're like, oh, that man juggles real balls. He's not out there with these bullshit balls. He's not out there with these baloney balls, or these spam spheres. That boy's juggling beef, That boy's juggling chicken teriyaki. So I want to be juggling real meats next year, and that's one of my goals, is to just be juggling the real shit. And to get some people, it's a good time, man. You got Christmas, give out some gifts, feel some joy. Don't feel bad about yourself. If you don't have the nicest shit, you ain't giving somebody sometime your neighbor, want a new hose, or they want a saw. If you can't get them a saw, you can't get them a saw. You can't get everything. I remember one year my mother didn't have a lot of money, and she got us 2-liter sodas from the gas station, from a Phillips 76 or a Conoco or whatever. And man, you think we didn't have any fun with those, boy? All day, dude, running around, shaking them up and spraying each other. And I remember mine was cherry 7-Up diet, of course. My mother was real adamant about calories. And that was some bullshit. How are you going to be poor, not have anything, but then your mother trying to keep you on some kind of a diet? Jesus Christmas. And so, but yeah, I remember one year we all got 2-liter sodas, and people's running around just shaking them up and spraying each other up and dousing each other with orange drink and, that beautiful cherry 7-Up. And it was fun, man. So full of soda, my belly was just distended with soda. None of us could keep our pants on. So we had 4 children, all under the age of 8, and everybody's pants all laying next to them. Even the baby got their diaper laying next to him because we gave her a bunch of soda. When you were young and nobody cared if you filled the baby up with soda pop. Now everybody's all risky about everything. Everybody's going to die, or everything is a disease, But when I was young, sometimes you filled the baby with a little bit of Mountain Dew Diet. You put a little bit of Shasta. You might top off a 1-year-old with a little bit of Shasta. But now there's so many rules. Soda will kill a baby. You're out of your mind. Dude, I knew a fucking 3-year-old growing up that could easily take down a quart of grape. That boy could take down a fucking quart of grape crush, bubbly soda. Not these little fake-ass kids now. People complaining, and everybody, all their kid has, asthma. Asthma. If he can't breathe, well, maybe it might be time to shut him down. Have you thought about that? Maybe he ain't supposed to be out here in the universe where people run on air if he can't breathe. So lung up or lung out, baby. That's what I'm saying, and go back to the Lord. Because reincarnation, man, it's an easy fix. They'll patch you up and put you right back here, ready for real life. So, sorry to go off on those tangents there. But I'm feeling frisky, man. I'm feeling wild. I'm feeling excited. I get to see my family this week, you know. My niece got a new rabbit. They got a show rabbit over there I'm going to go see. My mother, I'm trying to get her a couple of goats for Christmas, and she doesn't want them. She doesn't want the goats. And so I am, you know, I'm stuck with this dilemma, like, what do I do? Do I get my mother these goats? Because here's the thing. You know, I know that my mother loves goats, and she won't ask me for them. In fact, when I said, would you like some goats? And I'm talking 2 goats. I'm not talking a bunch. Because here's the backstory. My mother always wanted to have a goat farm. Because she likes, you know, natural animals. You know, she likes natural, you know, milk and all that. So she's thinking, you know, she'd like to farm a few goats, have her own goats. But she's always, you know, I'll do it later when I have more land or when I have this or that. But the thing is, those times might never come. And so I start worrying that, you know, that my mother's going to be afraid to ask for things that she wants. Because she thinks it's going to put a burden on me, but that her dreams or whatever, you know, even if her dream is something little, like having a few goats, you know, that her dreams aren't going to come true if she don't have them goats. So that's where my mind is at. It's like, man, I want to get my mother these goats, but, you know, but she says she doesn't want them, but I want her to be happy. And I really believe that this would help make her happy because it would kind of help her achieve one of her dreams of being a goat owner and having, being able to have natural milk out of animals at the house, but that she's afraid to ask. So it's tough. It's tough to navigate that. It's tough to, you know, do I get my mother something just because I think that she wants it, because I think it would be helpful to her? Or do I listen to her when I asked her, do you want any of, you know, would you like a goat? And it was just going to be one goat, but the thing is about goats is you can't leave them alone. You know, goats are like, they're like, you know, goats are like, goats just don't want to be alone. Goats are not singular animals. You'll never see a goat usually out by itself. You know, if you see a goat walking down the road, you usually see 1 or 2 goats, 3 goats, more. But you're not going to just see one goat out milling around fucking hitchhiking. That's bullshit. Because goats like to have a friend. They get very, very lonely. And I just thought it'd be nice. My mother could look out the back porch and see a couple goats out there. And I know it would bring joy to her. But, you know, I just worry she's putting off the things that'll make her happy because she thinks her life isn't ready right now for them. But then, is our life ever going to be ready? You know, is her life going to change that much in the next 10 years? Where she's suddenly going to live on a big ranch and have room for animals? I don't know. You know, but it's just tough. I don't know. It's like I want to be helpful, but goats really can kind of take care of themselves, I think. I'm going to do a little more research on it. But yeah, I remember my mother got us some 2-liter sodas one time when we were young, and we had one of the best Christmases that we ever had, shaking them up and spraying them out. And just getting that whole body's covered in soda. You know, I remember hugging my little sister at the end of the day and could barely even separate. We were so sugared down, so covered in sugar, our skin could barely separate. You know, and I know that's a little bit erotic, but it's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be about sugar drinks. But yeah, it's a good time of year, man. It's a good time of year. Just show up. You don't have a gift, show up and say, look, I don't have a gift, but I love you. Hit somebody with that L-bomb, you know? Instead of drawing a dick on somebody's head when they're passed out, won't you draw write love you on their forehead? You know? Send them back out into the world, sharing the message. So, also I heard that a couple of guys made it over to Gray Block Pizza and picked them up a hitter. Because that's where you get it at, man. Gray Block Pizza, they got it all. And that's over there, GREYBLOCK pizza.com. They got calzones, salads, and they got the salad pizza. Oh, you didn't think that a pizza could be green and fancy? And you might even find a rabbit hopping through it because it's that vegetable-ish? Well, you're dead wrong. They got the salad pizza over there at Gray Block. But what's going on in my life, man? This weekend, what did I do? I just did, I did some comedy sets. I'm recovering from this surgery. So I got this surgery last week. And I know you can probably hear that I sound a little bit better this week. And so I got this surgery last week where they go inside of not your brain, but into your face, and they widen your breathing canals. So if you hear me right now, man, I'm taking a real hit off the world. When I inhale, man, I mean it. Whereas before I was like, a little bit crinky. But now I'm 100%. When I'm taking the hit, I'm getting that hit. And so that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling just more lively, more vibed up. And but it's been a tough week, man. A lot of fever. I think this was a tough week to be a little bit sick or feeling odd because, the weather's changing and people are getting nervous and all that kind of stuff. And so my whole brain, they go in there and they chip out. So all week, man, I'm clearing my throat and I'm bringing up pieces of I'm bringing up memories from when I was 9. They're getting in there deep, and they're getting that nast, and they're blowing daddy out. But it was an interesting weekend. I saw the video. I know people have seen the video now of the F-18 fighter pilots. They had an alleged alien that these guys caught on video, not caught in real life. And it's interesting. You got this video of this alien vessel, going against the wind, and the winds are supposed to be like 100-something miles an hour. But now what you don't know is, just watching the video, it's like, were the pilots' voices dubbed in later? Is that real? It just, how much of it is real? Because these days, anything can be made. Anything. It's like everything out there, and most of the stuff you see out there, a lot of it's bullshit. Remember when those videos came out, it's like, oh, watch what happens with this when this homeless guy doesn't accept $1, and instead he does break dancing or something. That was all fucking fake, dude. All that shit, they found out all those videos were fake, This guy Fusi was making fake, and so you look back into some of this stuff and you're like, now when you go back and watch a lot of those videos, watch what happens when this black baby doesn't know that he's black, because he's blind. And, he gets treated perfectly at the mall. And you're like, well, what the fuck is this about? Watch this caterpillar hear Zydeco music for the first time. Watch this deaf kitten taste London broiled beef for the first time ever because of a taste bud transplant from Russia. But it's all that kind of shit. We're like, what the fuck's going on? But all the videos are made to look it's like these little bitty 30-second videos that just prove somebody's point but show no other perspective. And a lot of them are just bullshit, man. It's like that's what's out there now. So I'm just worried that this alien shit, that's what's going on. Because I'm trying to get this bullshit out of my brain bowels. Because I got thinkeria. Man. That's what I noticed that I have. It's just my thoughts are just infected with a bunch of straight up fart feces, man. And it's all just hot air that's come out of this universe. So much shit that I listen to and absorb every day is valueless. And so I got to start taking control. I got to stand here at the front lines of my life and not let so much bullshit in. And it's tough, man. It's tough. Because also it's entertaining. That's the thing. It's like, watch what happens when this guy with 0 legs and arms, watch what happens when somebody sets a piece of steak on his back and he's laying on his stomach on the street, on the sidewalk. Watch what happens when somebody sets a fresh steak on his back. And then you watch, and instead of the guy just leaning back and eating the steak off his own back, he pulls it off his back and gives it to climbs a tree with no arms and legs into a bird's nest and give the steak to the birds. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's what happened. And then it's like, don't be alone. White people suck, Then that's what the video, and you're like, what the fuck is this about? It's just a lot of, all the videos are just made to look like, it's like, hey, guess what? this exactly. You know? It's just, man, there's a lot of fucking bullshit out there. Because the truth is, if a man out there with no arms and legs, the only person I've seen out there with no arms and legs is doing all these shows, actually. I saw him perform at a church about 8 months ago, and he does these shows where he travels around the country and performs and does, like, inspirational speaking. So that's the reality, you know? That's the reality of it, is that a lot of these people out there doing shows. They're not out there fucking trying to eat steak off their own backs. So you just got to look at you got to look for the reality. And that's what I'm trying to do these days, man, is look a little bit more for the reality. So pretty good weekend, you know. Bitcoin, everybody's up into the Bitcoin, and you might know that I got, you know, some of you saw on my Twitter, I'm going to be in a film we're taping next spring, late spring. It's called Bitcoin the Movie. So I'm pretty stoked to kind of see, you know, what that'll be like, assuming that it goes through, you know, all the paperwork's done, but we got to get there and see it happen. But Bitcoin is out there right now, and I just urge you guys to go cautiously. You know, I remember when they came into my town when I was young, and they had glitter mining, and people were investing in glitter mining, 1,000 here, 2,000 there. And me and my buddy Chucky Mann each went in 1,000 in the glitter mining. They had the brochures, they had sample glitter, you know. They had rock, glit rock, and we were sink, line, and hooker. And then turn out bullshit. Glitter's manufactured. There are no mines. All cat shit. Grade A, deep, not even realistic, George Orwellian, fictional bullshit cat shit. And then we lost our money. So you just got to be careful out there. You don't know what's actually going to be realistic, you know. I think this camera's not really focusing that much. So I want to tell you guys about some dates I have coming up. January 11th through the 14th, I'll be at the Brea Improv. So that's one thing. January 18th through the 20th, I'll be at Jacksonville at the Comedy Club. And I'll be at the La Jolla Comedy Store. And that is January 6th. That is February 16th through the 18th. So those are some dates coming up in my universe. And I'm feeling a lot of feelings, man. I'm feeling a lot of, one thing I want to do, like I was saying, is get some things off my chest before this year turns. And one of those I'm going to do right now with a call. You know, this call came in many months ago, and I should have got to it. And I don't know if I didn't because I was ashamed, or if I was, I don't know what some of my thoughts and feelings were, but I want to get to it now. And here we go. All right.
What's up, Theo? I met you in Dallas, the Improv Addison. I had a cute date with me, and we went to the show, had a great time. You killed it. It was an awesome time. And we ended up partying after.
And I know the audio's rocky on this, but it's just the best that they have. This is how the call came in. And this is a gentleman saying that they came out to the show in Addison, and that they came out to the show, and that we all hung out after, me and him, and he had a cute date. Let's hear more.
I'm pretty sure you remember us.
And I do remember.
And it was just a great night. And a couple nights later, that girl, you know what I'm talking about, came over to my place. We got fucked up. We're hanging out. I'm playing Theo Vaughn videos on my computer like a little fanboy.
And while he's talking about the videos, I'm going to say don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. And this is not the most opportune time for me to mention that, but if you subscribe on YouTube, I will appreciate that. And that's just a dark joke because, you know, this guy's here sharing his feelings. So the girl's over at his house, and they're watching. You know, he's just being supportive. He's showing her funny stuff. Onward.
And, I'm pretty much sucking your dick, figuratively.
Yeah, and that's just figuratively, I think. And I don't even know what figuratively means. It means the one where it doesn't really happen. Let's hear more.
Talking about how funny you were, what a cool guy you were. And she starts crying. The bitch starts crying. I'm like, why is this bitch crying right now? And come to find out that I guess she snuck on over to your place the following evening, and you guys got a little hanky-panky going, which is fucking hilarious.
And so a couple things right there, you know, I mean, for one, I'll just bring it up, you know, he says this bitch, you know, and I mean, that part kind of turned me off in the call. But I think he's probably, at the time of this call, was angry at this young lady. You know, and I can understand. And I can understand being angry at her, and I can understand him being angry at me. And he's saying that, you know, she's over at his place. He's playing videos, they're talking about what a good time. He's talking about what a good time they had at the show, that they enjoyed my show. We had fun hanging out after, which we did. And then a few nights later that she snuck over to meet up with me for a little bit of that Hank Pank. And then she's crying, and she tells him that. Onward.
And I also was fucking shitty. Because this is probably the first bitch I liked in a few years. I did genuinely like her, and it kind of caught me off guard. And I like you, too. Obviously, you're my favorite comedian. We hung out. We had a good time. But I guess I don't really blame you for any of this. If I was in your shoes, I saw that ass, I would be like, fuck it. I'm going in.
And I do recollect that the woman had a nice ass. He's saying if I was in your shoes and I saw that ass, that I would go in. I'd get, aim for that ass, get up in that ass, like Ben Affleck and that big black guy in Armageddon when they try to get up on that rock in the air and save the universe with Steve Buscemi. And, I got a couple of different thoughts. You don't really blame me. I appreciate this call, man. Let's hear you out. Let's hear you out.
But it was kind of a dick move. But I hope you'll include this on your podcast so people can know a little bit more about your life and what life is like on the road. And yeah, I kind of want to thank you because I was thinking about dating this girl seriously. I did kind of like her.
Oh, and that part, I'm going to cut it there, just because, I heard it before, and, he liked her, and he was thinking about dating her seriously, and then because of, what happened with me and her, then it made him realize that it wasn't the best case scenario. And I want to apologize, man, and I texted him personally. I left him a voicemail personally to apologize. And I feel bad, definitely my behavior. The girl reached out to me, and we ended up hooking up and getting involved in some American sex, nothing wild, nothing foreign, and not even good sex. I'm not good at sex, so it was bad. It was that fainting goat kind of syndrome that I get sometimes, where, you start going, and next thing you know, you just holding your breath, and then you faint like those animals on the internet, like those shy goats. And that's kind of what happened to me, and that's, and I've never really been good at sex. I was real good at sex, I think, until about 19, when sex was more popular when you were sober, and sober sex is for children, I think. Adults that are fucking sober, that shit is awkward. That shit's really awkward, I think. But sober sex I've always thought was for children. But yeah, man, she reached out. And I complied. I remember the moment that I got this message from her, and I'm thinking, man, should I be doing this? Here was a fellow that came out to the show. We had a good time. I remember we all went out to the bar and hung out, and this is probably about a year ago. And it was, and I knew that the answer was no. But then that's when something boiled up inside of me. It was almost like a caterpillar climbed out of my nuts with a message from my dick and crawled all the way up into my brain and gave that message. It was almost like Paul Revere a little bit, The vagina is coming. The vagina is coming. And climbed into my brain. And once that Paul Revere, that catapult got into my brain, I couldn't relax. I couldn't fight the message at that point. I couldn't stop myself, and that's just, it was a series of reactions then. I'm texting with the gal, and I remember almost not really spending, she was a beautiful girl, and, I'm just sorry, man. I don't know if I'm, just going in circles here. I'm just trying to give a little bit more background to the story, but I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that shit, but then, sometimes I just can't help but be, I was that man, You know, I was that wild man out there. I wasn't having enough, morale for myself to hold on to my own nut. I was trying to get out there and be wild with that, with my body, and get out there and be in people's orifices and everything, and be like a real, just loitering around people's orifices and this woman's orifices. And I just want to say that I'm sorry, man. I appreciate you calling and talking about it. And I apologize. And I want to let people know that if you, come out to the show with your lady, that's not the type of thing it is. I'm not out there trying to seek and destroy anybody's relationships or anybody's first dates. And I remember this was a first date scenario. And now I'm just kind of backpedaling, I guess maybe trying to defend myself here. But, but I should have manned up and been like, that's bullshit. But I went out there and tried to catch that, cooter frisbee in my mouth, like a wild Australian shepherd. And that's what I did, and I just, at least at the very least, brother, know that it was bad sex, that I'm that bad sex bandit. I'm that Bone Ranger. I'm that bad sex bandit. I'm in and out of there like it's a bank. Get in, try to get the money. Shit's awkward. There's an alarm. There's an old man with a gun. There's a black security guard. He's resting. And next thing you know, I'm out of there. And it was not a good show. No money. And now a rap sheet. And this is my rap sheet, man. And this is the truth. And I just wanted to put some skin in the game too on this podcast, because guys call all the time and share things that are, real in their life and kind of explore who they are. And women do too. And sometimes I don't know if I do that enough. But yeah, man, I just want to apologize. I don't think I should have done that behavior. It's not behavior that I'm proud of. And here's why I know I should apologize, because at this point, hearing back on it, when I heard this call, I knew it wasn't something that I was proud of. I knew it wasn't something that I was proud of. I knew that I was that sneak, that I was that hamburglar, and I'm out there stealing the meat rounds. I'm out there stealing them fucking titty patties. I'm out there stealing them titty patties and them vagina nuggets. While this man's out there, sharing a shake with his lady, 2 straws in a chocolate cup. And I'm out there sneaking around back and sneaking around with them titty patties and them, vagina nuggets. So I'm sorry, dude. And if you come out again, dude, next year, or whenever I come back there, I think I've even been back there once since. But if you come back again, man, I got tickets for you, and I won't even talk to your date at all or look at her, and that's that, man. That's what happens. So, fuck, that's it, bro. That's it, dude. And I just want to. I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you having the balls to call me on it. And it's not the person that I want to be. The dude that's out there that's giving in just to try and catch a little bit of that. To catch a little bit of that slick wallet from any local lady. And that's not the man I am now. But I can't say that when that happened, that I wasn't that man. So, but onward, bro, and thank you. All right, let's hear a call here. We got this one from Animal Man. People know Animal Man's calling every year, and it's that time of year when animals, it's winter time for animals. And a lot of animals, you won't see them. They're hibernate. Even though I saw some animals today. This lady had 2 little bitty dogs. And let me tell you this, ladies. Some of you ladies with these little bitty dogs, what the fuck are you doing? Because some of these aren't dogs, okay? Some of these are little, it's just your insecurity with 4 legs. That's all it is. Some of these are little figments of your imagination that you are buying from who knows where, that Mother Nature's creating. Bullshit. Mother Nature never created some of these little fake-ass animals. I remember I was alive in 1992. Half these dogs didn't exist. The thing looked like a little fucking cold reindeer. What are some of these animals? Here's my thing. If a Frisbee will kill it, Is it a dog? That's where I draw that line. Because I see some of these ladies just walking these things that are not, they're not even, they all have emphysema and they all have, you know, brain surgery and they're wearing colostomy bags and shit because they're not real. They weigh 3 pounds. That's not a fucking animal. That's a science experiment. And it just, some of it, you see the dog and you're like, something's wrong with this thing. It can't breathe. Its eyes come in a separate carrying case that they wear on its back, and you got to pull eyes out and put them in its head. I mean, some of these dogs, it's not even real. They can't eat anything. They have 2 sips of water. It's just scary. Some of it's not real. And so as much as we're, you know, people are trying to rescue animals and this kind of shit, having these fake animals is just, that's scary. Very scary, man. So, fuck, I don't even know what I was talking about. Do you ever wonder why we continue to be served up the same cookie-cutter content? Or how many times Hollywood can remake, you know, Beauty and the Beast, go to Barbados, Beauty and the Beast in Afghanistan. You know, Belle gets a burqa. How long is it going to go on? How many sequels can be milked out of our favorite franchises? When do we just say enough is enough with these bad movies? Baywatch, but on skates. What the fuck is that? Well, times have changed, guys. And those times and those changes are at livetree.com. Because Livetree is changing the entertainment industry by creating a new platform called Adept. That's right. Adept is set to disrupt the $500 billion entertainment industry's entire value chain and gamify the process of watching content. The public, that means us, will now be able to fund what they want to watch, own what they help produce, and decide who's in it and what goes on through the process of content creation, funding, and distribution. It's like, just say Hollywood suddenly was a fantasy football league, and you could put who you want in what projects, you could move them forward, and you could have a part of the back end. You could be a producer. You can change the game, and you can do it at livetree.com. Check it out. It's magic. They're making magic happen, and this is the beginning of it. But let's hear a little bit more. Oh, we had Animal Man calling. Let's hear a little bit more from Animal Man. Here we go.
Hey, Theo, this is your Animal Man calling again. Being Christmas time, thinking about Santa and his reindeer, I thought I'd share a story about when I had to kick a caribou in the face.
Gang, gang. Gang, gang. Because everybody wants to find, oh, animals are sweet and animals are nice. Oh, look at the video on Instagram of the panda. Oh, he's balancing on a ball of snow. Look at him. Well, guess what? There's also the fucking mean streets of Detroit where these animals are out there. Let's hear more.
I was up on the north slope of Alaska in the springtime, early May. A few feet of snow still on the ground, driving along looking for migratory birds.
Bang, bang, boy. A lot of dudes get stoned and, oh, let's go to 7-Eleven. You know, let's get some of these Takis. You know, let's eat some hot chips. Let's cook a pizza in the dryer, guy. But the big dog, Animal Man, he's out there on the north slope of Alaska looking for migratory birds. Now, that's the kind of weed that I want to hit. That shit that puts you out there on the North Pole. You know, out there watching fucking, you know, little people build trains and shit. Let's hear more.
And I saw something off a couple 100 yards off the side of the road. Kind of a lump in the snow, so I pulled over, and I could see it was a caribou. It looked like it was just lying on the ground sleeping. So I honked my horn a couple times, and it didn't react at all.
Yeah, that sleeping caribou trick, man. I used to play that one time on this girl I was dating. You know? That old sleeping caribou, and then next thing you know, everybody's fucking, you know? And everybody is fucking because they want to be doing sex, not because somebody's sneaking up on somebody. Let's hear more.
I watched it for a few minutes, and I couldn't even see it breathing, so I'm wondering if the thing's dead. So I get out of the car, start trudging over to it. It hadn't moved at all. It hadn't breathed, and I stopped and looked at it a few times. I got closer and closer and just assumed it was dead. It had been a big storm for a few days, and I thought it had froze.
That frozen caribou trick. Oh, yeah. This is more of a gangbang maneuver. More?
So I kind of stopped paying attention as I got closer to it, because if it was alive, usually it would have got up and run away. I get up to the thing, and suddenly it stands up and looks at me and lets out this little grunt. And so I grunted back. And
Ooh. This thing's getting very like Al Pacino in Heat. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Heat or not, where Tim and Robert De Niro are upset at each other about guns. Let's hear more.
And the next thing I know, the thing charges right at me. I was only about 10, 15 feet away, so I didn't have any time to really react, so I just kicked it in the face.
Can you imagine that? Kicking a caribou in the face. You know, I've heard of people talk about the rusty trombone and the cinnamon donkey or whatever it's called, but the kicking the caribou in the face, that's a real move. That's a real move, Animal Man out there. Fuck, dude. I can't even fathom you would do that. What else?
But it wasn't even a cool karate kind of kick. I just kind of did a little hacky sack thing off the side because it happened so quick. It stood there and we looked at each other. He laid down and just stared at me. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm getting the hell out of here. Went on with the rest of my day and came back in the afternoon and it was still there. And I watched it for a while. I was struggling to get up. Couldn't really get up at all, actually. So I stopped the truck and watched it, got out, walked closer to it, and actually saw it die. So, yeah, I felt bad that the thing was going to die anyways. It had made it through this storm just barely. It was completely starved, and it was a beautiful day, and it could have just died in peace, but the last thing that happened to it was some idiot comes out of nowhere and kicks it in the face.
Man. Oh. You know, and I appreciate you sharing that story here with us because there is something a little tragic about that. You know, he thinks he's, Animal Man. He's out there. And thank you for calling Animal Man from the North Slopes of the Great White North. Out there. Who knows what's happening? He could have been anywhere. He's out there fucking battling the snow. Where are you at? At home right now? Eating watching Jib Jab videos and eating sliced meats? And Animal Man's out there living real life kind of shit. Living real, Swiss Family Robinson type of shit. And we're over here fucking pissed off because our hot cocoa ain't right. Or the sandwiches is too small. Or because our aunt is getting fat or our girlfriend's getting thick. But Animal Man, I feel you, man. I can really relate to that story, dude, of when you have that moment where you don't recognize the scenario of what's going on and you do something so just trite, so meaningless, so stupid, so out of line with what the music of that Mother Nature is playing at that moment. And here's an animal that's dying. And the last living creature that it encounters is a man, you. And it's supposed, it's its swan song. In its head, there's these romantic songs going on, and maybe there's like some Meryl Streep movies or something. But then you're viewing it wrong. You got this whole Rodney King kind of thing going on, and next thing you know, you kick this animal in the face, And then you come back later in the day and you see it die, and you realize, wow, I apparently am out of tune with nature. And that's why, and first I'll tell you my story that relates to that. The story is this: when I was, 12 years old, in my town, they had a boy named Ricardo, and he played basketball with us, and he was tall. He was the tallest boy I'd ever seen. He was taller than any man I'd ever seen, and he was only a boy. And he was probably 6'5", and he probably weighed 230 pounds. And he had the biggest smile. I mean, his smile, if he'd have been wearing lipstick, he'd have got lipstick on the tips of his ears when he smiled. His smile was so big, it just, it almost just hugged his entire face. And he was a beautiful, handsome kid, a black gentleman, African American. And we were playing basketball, and Reggie Lewis had just died for the Boston Celtics. And Reggie Lewis was a famous basketball player who collapsed on the court, I believe, during practice and passed away of a heart condition. Literally a few days later, we're playing basketball in our town. It's like a city game. And Ricardo's running down the court, and he falls. He just falls on the court. And I remember yelling from the bleachers. I remember yelling Reggie Lewis, who was the player for the Celtics who had just passed away in the NBA. And I didn't know why I did it. You know, I thought he had fallen down. I thought that this young man had just fallen down and he was going to be okay. And then next thing you know, the ambulances come, and he never got up. And I remember being at his funeral a few days later, and just scared and heartbroken, just because, you know, that experience with someone leaving the earth. But also, you know, some shame, because here I was doing something that was so out of line with what Mother Nature's plan was at that moment. You know, with what God's plan was at that moment. Here I am, just being a fucking tool bag. You know, just yelling Reggie Lewis, and I worry someone was that the last thing that he heard, what happened. But then I know that some of those ideas are just selfish ideas of me thinking that. Like, that's crazy. You know, the last thing he heard was something beautiful. You know, something, you know, the soft, clean, freshly soap-washed hands of the Lord coming down and picking him up and taking him to a safer place. But that was, you know, your story just made me think about that. I hadn't thought about that in many years. But I appreciate you calling in, Animal Man. And, you know, we share these things like this to get them off of our chest, to purge them, because we don't want to go into next year. You know, next year we're not kicking caribous in the face. We're going to be congruent with what's going on. We're going to be in the flow. We're not carrying any bullshit, no extra baggage. Let it go. If you have to tell somebody something, tell them. If you got to get it off your chest, if you're in love, if you're out of love, you know, if your son is being a prick, you know, if your cousin's breath stinks, let's get on the same page. Let's share the news, guys. Let's purge. If you need to make a call and leave a voicemail to somebody and let them know that they fucked you up, or that they bullshitted you, or that you invested something, you were vulnerable, you know, get it done. I probably have a few that I need to make, and I'm glad I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm glad you guys are here with me to think about it. I'm glad you guys are here with me to think about it. You know, we got a few more calls that came in, and we had some people that responded. We had a young lady that called last week saying, how does she get out of the friend zone? And we'll get into that in just a second, but I want to play a call that came in from a caller right here. Thank you for calling the hotline. And the hotline is 985-664-9503. In the new year, I'd like to get back to, you know, if people are having issues out there, you know, if you're struggling, of course, with anything, call in about it. If I can relate, I'll share my experience. Also, if you're struggling with addiction or some issues like that, feel free to call. Just don't want you feeling alone because you're not. Let's take this call. Here we go. Again, the hotline, 985-664-9503. You'll have up to 3 minutes to leave a message. And I appreciate all the voicemails that have come in. Thank you very much.
Hey, Theo. This is Kyle from Colorado. Just thinking of how all these people calling in on you, checking in on you, making sure you're doing well or all that stuff. Does it feel like your friends are calling you? Or does it feel like do you have any connection to these people, or are they just random strangers just kind of calling, checking in on you, or like your friends that are calling to see how you're doing? Hey.
It's a good question, Kyle, man. Thank you for calling. Thank you for hitting the hotline. Does it feel like my friends are calling when I get these voicemails? Well, it's hard for me to say that it feels like they're calling when, you know, they're bringing dates to the shows and, you know, I'm finagling them. So that doesn't feel good. You know, so, I mean, I guess that's the kind of friend that I was, though, at that point. You could be like, well, maybe you're being hard on yourself. And yeah, it's true. Maybe I am being a little bit aggressive with myself, a little assertive. But, you know, if I don't want to have the same behaviors, I got to be assertive. You know, I got to drop that line in the sand. You know, I got to get that marks a lot out and start to draw a box around myself and look at where my lines are and look at what my levels are. Because otherwise, I'll just be, you know, otherwise it's just, you're just walking around forever. But does it feel like, yeah, sometimes it does. You know, especially with some of these guys call about addiction. Some of these guys call about, you know, things that they're dealing with in their life. And you can tell a lot of times in somebody's voice if it's something they're really struggling with, if they're just joking around. And sometimes, and it's okay if it's any of it. If people are joking around and it's a call that fits with the upcoming episode, good, let's do it. You know, and if people are talking about something serious and I can put it out there where other people can call and help them, then that makes me feel like a little bit of part of some solution, I guess, like a little bit of like a middleman. You know, and that's something I'd like to do more of in the coming years, match people up who are having problems and people who need suggestions and who have really good suggestions because they have experience. And I think that's one thing we're starting to do by, you know, fielding issues and putting them out there for you guys to call in and give thoughts and suggestions to listeners. So, yeah, I guess it does feel like friends. I mean, I get into the hotline, I search on that Google inbox, and next thing you know, there's, 50 voicemails in there, and it's like, damn, what's going on? Some people call in, they just rambling. Some people call every single week, and I try to always get one of their calls on, but it doesn't fit a little bit. But I'm never like, fuck, I wish this person wouldn't call anymore. I'm always grateful. I try to some people, I just text them back and just check in on them and see what's going on. I don't even put the call up here on the show. I just text them and we'll have a little bit of a text communication and just see what's going on if it's something that's happening. So it makes me feel, I do think it makes me feel good. It makes me feel, and this may be selfish, but it makes me feel sometimes like, like I'm able to be, part of somebody else's universe a little bit, and I learn a ton of shit. I mean, there's a lot of people will call in with just suggestions or advice from me or links or information to things that I've talked about and like, dude, this is where you can get help for that, or this is where you can learn about that. And I appreciate those things. So I guess it certainly feels like a community. It feels like we're starting a community. So that feels good. And I love the suggestions about what we should do for next year on the podcast and things like that. And I love the fact that we have some ladies calling in. This has been a crazy year, especially as a man. This has been a year where I've asked myself, how racist am I? Am I racist? Where does racism lie within me? When the take a knee stuff and a lot of the, political division in America this year, I feel like for me, it had me asking a lot of questions to myself, even innately, even when I didn't want to be asking, I was just like, I would start to monitor how I behaved around people of other genders and other ethnicities. It really did. It just made me start to think, start to look at myself. Like, oh, when I see a black friend or when I see a white friend, do I behave any differently? Even if it's just a little bitty thing, is there any reason for it? When I'm talking to a girl or talking to a guy, is my demeanor different? Do I carry any air of superiority in one or inferiority in one conversation as opposed to another? These are things that I started to really look at myself from this year, or look into this year. And a lot of that is because of, I guess, just kind of groupthink of what's going on in the world and then us talking about some of these things at the same time on the pod, on this past weekend. Because the truth is, a lot of my weekends were just shitty. This weekend, my nose felt wide open. So the whole weekend, all the air, every breath I took, it felt cold. I coughed up something from my lung the other day, or from the back of my head. It came dislodged from the inside of my skull. It came out of my mouth, and it felt like a damn zygote. This thing was huge. I'm talking, this thing was probably 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches and probably weighed about 1/16 of a pound. And it just came out of me, and it was from the little procedure I had done. But now you hear that thing running, boy. Like a 280ZX, boy. Don't even bring an 8-ball around this thing, son. Don't even bring an 8-ball. But last week we had a call that came in, a young lady asking about, she's always in the friend zone. And we had some callers that gave in suggestions for her here. So I want to drop those in right now. Here's a couple of suggestions that came in for you from some of our callers.
Theo, Rico from New Hampshire.
Rico out of that hamp, boy. Rico out of that hamp. Onward, Rico.
Calling about the friend zone. this goes for male, female, zin, zer. If you're in the friend zone, talk to the person immediately. Tell them the truth. Tell them that you have feelings for them. They will either say, yes, I have feelings for you. In this lady's case, I'm assuming that the male is going to say, yeah, well, let's get it on. I think I'm in the friend zone too, which is usually the case. It's just people not talking to each other.
So he's saying that miscommunication. That's a key right up front. So, young lady, if there's a specific instance, because you just kind of said that generally guys feel like it seems like you're in the friend zone automatically. If there's a specific instance that you're trying to capture a man's heart, are you trying to be sentimental with him, or sit in a park somewhere and split a sandwich, and look at the fountains or whatever, then you need to let that man know that you have more desires than just sitting around watching roller derby or kind of shit like that. That you have the desires to be sensual. To have that sandwich together.
Tell them how you feel. If they say no, you just keep doing you. You keep being yourself. Don't try and be what you think a guy is going to. Just be yourself. And people that are like you are going to gravitate towards you.
Yeah, and the end of there is just general advice, I think. People that like you are going to gravitate towards you. But if you're in that friend zone, speak up. Say, hey, just party of one over here, and I'm trying to make it party of two. And I think then people will recognize. Let's hear another call here that came in.
Hey, Theo, this is Paul calling in from Northeast Ohio.
Damn, that's quiet Paul, boy. Paul sounds like that silent killer, boy, like emphysema. Paul sounds like he hiding in your attic, but he's not trying to hurt anybody. He's just up there living, and not telling you about it. Let's hear more, Paul. Thank you for calling, brother.
I'm calling in about the jumping out of the friend zone. And
Man, Paul got that deep voice, huh? He sound like he'll fuck you in a basement or something. Like he'll fuck you at the center of the earth, boy. Paul got them long consonants coming out of his face. Luther Van Boss, boy. Let's hear a little more. Onward, Paul.
Zone. And one thing that I notice when I'm hanging out with a girl, or if we're just friends, if she shows any kind of like physical contact towards me, it piques my interest, and it just allows me to know that she is maybe kind of interested in me as more than a friend. Thanks, man. Love the podcast. Just trying to help out.
And there you go. And so right there, I think this goes back to does this feel like your friends are calling you? I mean, that's somebody just calling just to help out. That's somebody who was sitting around, listening, heard something, felt compelled, and then called just to help out. So, yeah, I think in that sense it really does. And I'll see guys on the road. I'll say this. I'll go out and do shows and perform, and I'll see guys come out on the road who love the podcast. And I'm like, wow. That's amazing. I mean, and guys who just, who feel like we're on to something. We're putting something together. Because I'm out here struggling too, man. And I'm sure next year is going to be a struggle. But I know that we got some group think going on here. And I know that I feel like I could do a better job of bringing some of my real problems here to the pod. I feel like I really could. I feel like sometimes this year I got afraid to sometimes talk about things because I was afraid to, just afraid of what people might think if I shared some of my thoughts, or shared even just some of my questions. And I think that that's sometimes just a part of our problem with our society out here, especially in Los Angeles, man. I've never felt, I don't think, less welcome in a place than I feel here a lot of times. A lot of times they beat you down, or, if you have, I just feel unwelcome. So, I have a Southern accent, and I have some faith in a higher power, and I'm not, I'm not liberal, but I'm not conservative, really. I don't use one of those really to define me. And I try to be understanding. I try to be understanding. I just, I feel like the underdog a lot of times, and I don't think that ever really kind of has left me a little bit. I don't like it when people gang up on other people and pick on somebody. I don't like that shit. I feel bad if somebody's, is mean or heartless. Sometimes I feel bad for them because I know that it must be hectic to go through life and be grinching all the time. You know, that's not easy. People that sometimes are mean are in pain, really. Sometimes we don't want to think that. You know, and I don't like it if people should be able to know better and do better and they don't. I understand, but, you know, it's tough. It's tough sometimes. But then I realize that I do the same exact things. You know, I'm just fucking learning as I go. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think we're all just trying to do that together. But I think we got to stick together out there. It's a rocky world out there for men and for women, too. Shit is gang out there. 420 Gucci gang. But that physical contact, he's saying that's one way to get out of the friend zone is do that touch, you know. Play a little, you know, let's thumb wrestle. Touch somebody's elbow. Touch somebody's cheek. You know, sometimes physical touch, even if you don't know what to do. I remember a buddy of mine came out the closet, and this gentleman is homoerotic. And he came out of the closet to me, and I knew he was gay forever because he sounded like a gay man and because he walked around like he was pretty much gay. And he finally came out of the closet to me. I didn't know what to do, dude. So I just put two of my fingers in my mouth, bro, because I didn't know what to do. So I just put my two fingers in my mouth, and I put one of my hands on his cheek, my other hand on his cheek. And I know that's not sign language or anything like that. I didn't know what to do. But I think some physical contact, it let him know I'm okay, and you're okay, you know, and everything's going to be okay, and I accept you. So sometimes that physical contact will let people know, you know, just they can feel that. You know, you ever get that, if you get that electricity when you're walking across the floor, like in the library, we used to have this gentleman named Pierre. And he was a black gentleman, and he was our librarian. And he was probably the only black librarian in the 1980s or 90s. And we used to run our feet along the carpet in the library. And then when he was resting, because he would rest involuntarily, he had that syndrome where you start resting involuntarily, you know. He always just hitting that snooze bar. You know, the Lord was always hitting his snooze bar, Pierre's. You know, we used to say rest in Pierre. That's what we would say because he was always resting. And we would get that zap on us. You know, you could rub your shoes along the carpet, then pull up on somebody and zap them, just zick them in the neck. You know? And so we used to zap old Pierre and liven him up, get him back awake and bring him back to life. But that's what I feel like it is whenever if somebody likes you and they touch you, you notice, you can feel that. So if you're in the friend zone and you want to get out of it, sometimes it's not other people putting you there. Sometimes it's you just staying there. I think get specific with your intentions. Let them be known. You know, and I think that's the overall vibe of this whole episode. Let them be known. Get specific with your intentions and let them be known. But I appreciate you guys calling in this week, man. It's been a good episode, I feel like. I'm going to hit the Patreon too with some more. You know, put something up there for the Patreoners, and thank you guys so much. We got some really, we got some new and exciting things that are going to be happening in the spring. Looking at a studio right now. Thinking about having guests in on Thursdays. We got a gentleman, Christopher Perez, who's coming in on Sundays. And he's our intern now, and he's on, you know, and he's excited, and he's Mexican, I guess, you know, or Latino, and he's fired up. You know, handsome fella, and he seems pretty keyed up, and you know, and it's exciting. And dude he has ideas and he has energy. You know, Bud Galloway was in this Wednesday, and he's, you know, helping out and making amends for, you know, ruining, because he and I ruined each other's Thanksgivings by not getting an episode put together correctly. But you know, people are helping out. People are contributing. You guys are helping out. You know, by making the calls, by listening, by subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on something else. iTunes. We're going to listen to another call right here. Young fella having a problem. Onward.
Hey, what's up, Theo, man? It's Mike out here in California.
What's up, Mike? I live in California too, man. Thanks for calling.
I'm calling today because I got a lot of things bothering me on my mind. You talk a lot about the dark arts, and I think my arts sometimes get a lot darker than some of your callers and listeners.
Them dark arts, baby. Your paint is tainted, huh? You got that freaking, that, your paint is tainted. You got that dim trim. Let's hear it.
Struggle myself with, well, sometimes finding a lady friend isn't that easy.
Yeah, sometimes finding a lady friend isn't easy, especially, I mean, I notice in Los Angeles, that's where I live, it's really tough. But let's hear more.
So I resorted to banging trannies. And I know what you're thinking. Pretty fucking weird and sick. And it's not like I like...
No, I don't think it's weird and sick, man. You know, I mean, people bang transvestites. Somebody's having sex with transvestites. You know, when you see a transvestite, you know that people are having sex with them. You know, and if that's you, that's what you do. You know, some people want it all. You know, I'm indecisive. Sometimes you want the surf and the turf. You want the soup and the salad. You know, you want the creme brulee and you want that shim brulee. You know, sometimes you want that hitter and you want that spitter. And that's where it seems like you're at. You just want it all. Let's hear more.
You know, getting out there and sword fighting and stuff, but sometimes I just put my boots on and go to work. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, man. It bothers me and keeps me up late at night. I just want to basically know, is there anybody else out there struggling with the same dark arts? Because I'm thinking, like, you know, that's self-pleasure, and that's an art, but man, boy, man.
You stopping at the trans station, boy. All aboard, huh? All aboard that wiener and vagine. And that's okay. You know, and I think, you know what, I do have, you know, I actually know some friends who have been in, having sex with transvestites, and most of them, it has been as an accoutrement to their addiction, you know, and that's part of like, you know, it's sometimes they would get transvestite prostitutes. And I've never seen this, you know, but I do have friends that have shared that with me, that has been their experience. And so, and those are friends that were addicted to drugs. So, you know, I think there's some of that out there, that sometimes you want love and you don't know what to get it from. And so it makes sense. A transvestite, that's just a whole family in one. You know, that's that 7-Eleven. That's that 7-Eleven for your, you know, for your libido and for your heart. Because you're with a man, a woman, could be a mother, a father, a brother, a niece, and it's all in one. It's all encompassing. So you're getting a whole family right there in one package of person. So there's something, it's certainly understandable, man. I don't think that's a dark art if you're doing it in a healthy environment. You know, if you're, you know, I don't even think it's a dark art if you're paying for sex, you know. Unless it's a negative, unless it's gotten to the point where it's a bad habit, you know, where you're resorting to it in addition to cocaine use or drug use or methamphetamine use. If you're getting wild like that, if you being that frisky biscuit and trying to get up there and lick somebody's fucking all their body whiskers and try to change their oil with your tongue, you know. If you play in the pipe and you play in the pouch at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, but if it's an accoutrement of other bad behaviors, then it might be something you want to look at. But look, man, if you're out there, you're out there. Enjoy your life, brother. You know, but decide before this new year starts. Why don't you decide for yourself that you're going to be happy with it, and you're going to quit thinking about it. You're going to quit if you're judging yourself for it. You know, that's what I'm going to try to do. Got this beautiful art too. I'm showing you this. If you're on the YouTube, you can see this beautiful fan art, and I'll put it up on my Instagram as well. Gentleman Chris brought this to me over there in when I was in Canada, and he's a Canadian fella, and that is beautiful, man. And he really did it, and I definitely look like I put on weight in this photo. All right, let's take one more call here.
Hey Theo, I just wanted to say I've been doing stand up for like 3-4 months now, and my best jokes, they're kind of like, they're racial, and I'm kind of a white guy.
You're either are or you aren't, Daddy. And I know it's you're not allowed to be white in America anymore, so I am sorry to hear that, brother. Onward.
I do a lot of, I got a brother, he's a 12-year-old adopted boy from China, and I do a lot like a Chinese bit where I'm like, you know, they sent him here in a crate, got out of the crate, we had to beat him off the dog, like, back, China boy, back, you know, that kind of thing. And it always gets a laugh. But I kind of, like, I don't know, sometimes it's kind of weird because, like, I get the...
So you doing them back China boy jokes, and you beat him off with the dog because that's an old... stereotype that Asian people eat animals. And we discussed it last week on the episode that Asian people are, that in some countries, that in countries with more poverty in them, or more people and less food, that more things are food. And so, yeah, I mean, fuck, dude. You leave me home for 4 days, and you leave, and there's a Datsun, there's a Weimaraner in the other room, guarantee you we ain't gonna both be here when you get back. Onward.
Like, I get that I'm white. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, you think it's okay to, like, pull that stuff out? Because it's, like, my experience, too. But, like, also it's his.
Okay, so is it okay to make fun of your brother and include him in your material? I think it's okay. You can have your experience, and they're part of your life. In the end, I think it could be helpful to bring it back around. Maybe talk about what his experience must have been like. Because then then the audience gets to see it from his perspective as well. And then in the future, ask him. You can always ask him. I remember there's a joke. My brother used to try to make love to me when we were children. And I remember asking my brother if it was okay that I could tell the story. And he said yes. And he said, look, I love being a part of your work. And so, I was scared. There's another story I tell about where my sister didn't want me talking about it. And so your family will let you know. And you can apologize if you're wrong. But I don't think that anything's off limits. I don't think so. I think humor is the one thing that's going to save us. Because it's the one thing that we all have inside of us is the ability to laugh. I'm sitting in some of these clubs and I'll say the word black, or I'll say, racism, or I'll say, or I'll even mention a story about a Mexican kid that I grew up with. And people are unable to even, it's like I can't say certain words. How the hell can we live together and not talk about, even reference each other? I mean, I think it would be a great world. It would be amazing maybe if we were all one color and lived in one magical place. But that's not fucking realistic. Okay? That's not realistic. I love the goal. I love the dream of it. I love the idea of it. But, I think everything's okay to laugh about. People will know in your heart what's going on. And I think you have to try and walk the fine line of not being mean. When I look at my earlier comedy when I was younger, I do find that I was mean about some things because I had some anger in me. And as I've been able to let that anger go, I've been able to share some of the same stories and same attitudes, but with a kinder tone. And I find I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that mild evolution that's slowly happened in me. And sometimes it comes and goes slow. It comes and goes slow. But yeah, I say keep going. And if they get offended, try and talk about how you're offended even. That's one thing I'm going to start doing. That's one thing I'm going to start doing. So with that said, man, we're going to cut out here. I appreciate you guys calling. There will be a Thursday episode. And if you guys want to call in, we can make it about Christmas. I don't know what we're going to make it about. I want to know what's going on. What do you want to get off of your chest from this year? Let's do that. What do you want to get off of your chest from this year? That you don't want to take into the next year with you. What are you tired of carrying around? What are you tired of carrying around? I'm tired sometimes of being non-committal. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of feeling inadequate sometimes and not getting help for myself. I'm tired of, spending time with somebody that I care about, but being afraid to talk about real issues that are in my mind for fear of alienating them. I'm tired of feeling ashamed to be a man or stand up for myself sometimes because of the way the society is these days and makes us feel. I'm tired of sitting around while people make fun of poor people. I'm tired of feeling like everything gets blamed on poor people and white people. I'm tired of not speaking up for myself. I'm tired of not being more active. I'm tired of not waking up every day and seizing my day. And if I'm unable to because I'm feeling depressed or something, I'm tired of not figuring out why I'm depressed or getting to the bottom of that shit so I can move on. You know, I'm tired of that kind of stuff. I really am. I'm tired of it. We'll take this one call real quick. This came in a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to play it, and I didn't, but here we go.
Hey, Theo. This is JP down in Alabama. I'm a 35-year-old male who has been married 2 times now. I'm on my second marriage, and this second one's going pretty successful so far. I just wanted to address your fears being in a relationship that you talked about last week. I think, really, man, I'm like I said, I'm a fan. I don't want to come off as an asshole here, but I think you're just kind of being a pussy about it, man. As somebody who's been through some bullshit with women several times, it's always worth it in the end. Seems like it's me, if you get out of it alive, you know.
If you got some bullshit going on with some women, he said it's always worth it in the end if you get out alive. And that's JP from Alabama. But I think the message was that, you know, you're being a pussy. And I think there's some truth there. You know, I think there's some truth there. And so that's why I want to get this stuff off of my life, you know, because I ain't swimming around in this vagine anymore. You know, I'm picking a path, you know. I want to know what I want. I want to be headed in my direction. I want to be making the most of my time and of my effort because we deserve it. We deserve it. We all do, man. You know, and my cousin got bit by a gay man out there on Highland. You know, and this man was dressed up like a baby deer. But we got each other. Tiny Sand, who showed up. I want to thank Animal Man. I want to thank the callers. You know, I want to thank you guys giving advice for our young lady in the friend zone. And you can find links to everything at the bottom of the YouTube. Remember to subscribe. Remember to hit the hotline 985-664-9503. We've got Onward shirts at theovon.com/store. We've got a few new shirts in the store there. And thank you guys for being a part of my year. I mean, a part of my year, man. I'm grateful to you. That man asked, you feel like it's your friends calling? You know, most of the time I do. Most of the time I do. Tiny, why don't you make us feel big, brother? And while this plays, I'm going to open up I got a few Christmas presents. I actually got a few Christmas presents that came in. I'm going to open them up here. I'll just show you one of them while this plays. I'll show you. I got a pillow from the lady that's making the Bitcoin movie. The producer sent me this beautiful pillow, and I'll show you this thing. If you're on the YouTubes, you can see that pillow. Louisiana pillow. I got another gift right here. Tiny boy. This from my friends over at Vendabona Productions. My friends at Vendabona Productions who make that show America's Funniest Home Videos, they gave me this book, the Monty Python's Flying Circus. And it looks like one of those books where everything in it pops up when you open it. So that's pretty cool, a pop-up book. So I'm pretty excited to crack into this. I'll put it out there on a coffee table where nobody will ever read it. But the people at Vendabona Productions, my friend Lisa Black and Rebecca Donahue gave me this. I also got a beautiful card from Howie Mandel and his family. And I got a gift from my new assistant, Christopher Perez, but I haven't opened it. But I'll let you guys know next week what it is. And thank you guys for being a part of it. Here we go. Be good to yourselves. Bet you deserve it. Merry Christmas.